Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Insider Tips. Today I'm going to talk to you about an advertising opportunity that I found out about this week, and it's one you may not have considered in the past. Well, before we get going, if you look over my shoulder, you'll understand this is not the typical background that you've seen in the Insider Tips videos. I'll talk to you a little bit about an interesting transition going on, and if you'll hang on to the end of the video, you'll be able to learn kind of what's going on at Jim Ray Consulting Services. Earlier this week, I had a conversation with a lady named Susie Hillebrand. Susie and I go way back. In fact, we actually went to college together. We've been friends for years. And she told me about something going on at Today's Publications. Susie's an account executive over there and kind of gave me some background on her publications and how that might be an advantage to you. There are actually 3 different publications and each has an associated website. There's Today's Woman, Today's Family, and Today's Transitions. Each of those actually have a different demographic, and the cost to advertise in these magazines are actually relatively cheap, so that's one of the reasons I wanted to show it to you. Now, most of you know me as an online advertising guy, an online marketing guy. We've talked about websites, we've talked about legal directories and all sorts of things for years, but this is one of those mediums, one of those channels that I think you might want to consider because I think a lot of your competitors are probably overlooking it. And anytime they do that, that opens up a void, and it's an opportunity for us to slip in there and probably pick up a few clients. Now, in just a minute, I'm going to go over the individual demographics for each of the 3 magazines. What I like about these is they're monthly or quarterly, depending on the magazine, and the cost, again, is relatively low. So it's another way to kind of test the market out. You may take 3 or 4 ads, see what happens. If you like it, great. You're not going to be locked into a long-term contract, which, as you know, is something that I'm a big fan of. I like having the flexibility to get in and get out when we need to. So let's take a few minutes and actually break it down and take a look at some of the options that you may have available to you. The first edition is Today's Woman magazine. Now, this is a monthly. Circulation is 40,000. Readership's 120,000. If you start looking at the target demographic, this is specifically targeted for women 35 to 54. So these are good earnings years. These are ladies who are going to make a lot of the decisions within the household. I mean, if you think bankruptcy, for instance, it's usually the woman who has a really good idea how the household finances are going, how the cash flow is going. They're a little bit more in tune with that. So this is a way to appeal directly to that market and that specific decision maker. The other situation here is if it's family law. Obviously, this is a demographic that you don't want to ignore when you look at half or more of the divorces are actually filed by women. And then finally, if you look from a personal injury standpoint, whether it's the woman or the man who's actually been injured, a lot of times the woman as head of the household is actually going to make that call. They're going to initiate that contact with an attorney to look for someone who can actually help them. So this is, again, a good way to get in front of those eyes, to get in front of those people. Where do you find Today's Woman magazine? Well, a lot of times if you've been, for instance, in and out of a Kroger grocery store, there's usually racks of them at the entrance. Now, you may think, wow, those don't actually get picked up. But actually, if you look at the demographics, if you look at the circulation and the readership in Jefferson County and Louisville, this is probably an interesting little opportunity for you. If you go to the bottom of this chart, you'll see the average print and digital impressions are almost 218,000 a month. Not a bad target market, not a bad way to reach into that target market and speak directly to them. And this is a magazine, obviously, that people have self-selected. They've said, hey, I want to read this. And so, again, another thing that your competition may be neglecting, but it's a good way to kind of get in front of people when they're most interested and most receptive to your advertising. Now, the second one is Today's Family. This is a little bit different. This is actually a quarterly. The circulation is slightly lower at 35,000, the readership at 105,000. But here's the interesting thing about this target demographic. Again, targets adults 25 to 45 with young children. So as we go back to the discussions about bankruptcy, if we go back to the discussions specifically about family law issues, if we go back to the discussions about personal injury, I think obviously this is a good market to look at. You can see how the HHI is broken out for all of these. That's the household income. So you can kind of see how that's broken out among the readership. But what I think makes Today's Family unique is that 30% of the magazines are actually distributed by JCPS and some of the other schools. So these are actually going in backpacks as the kiddos come home. So again, the advantage here is you actually make it into the homes. So this magazine sits around on the counter, sits around on the table, and gets thumbed through. So you've got a better chance of actually seeing that. Where I may walk past it in a Kroger, this is actually sitting in my house, so I may actually pick it up and look at it a couple of times, and so might my friends or anybody else I might have over to the house. So monthly in print digital impressions, right about 120,000 a month. And finally, let's look at today's transitions. Now again, this is slightly different. Obviously the target demographic is going to be different. This is a quarterly, 25,000 in circulation, and the readership just over 75,000. This is keying in on topics and areas of interest for caregivers and elderly. So if you have a portion of your practice that's devoted to wills, trusts, estates, probate, anything like that, especially with the caregivers being involved, this might be a great way to reach out to that market specifically. Household income, again, is divided out there for you. But again, if you're looking at building a probate practice, or you're trying to pick up some wills as kind of an annuity, hoping that you'll get the probate work down the road, this is probably one of those magazines that you want to use. It's a pretty good way to get in front of those influencers and those people who may actually need your legal services. As I look down toward the bottom, average print in digital impressions, 76, almost 77,000. So each of the magazines are slightly different. Each of the magazines come with their own target demographic and circulation. While they're all three different, I think it does one thing in common, and that allows you to kind of get in front of the right consumer in a magazine where in some cases they've actually self-selected. So I do like that opportunity and that tactical look. The final chart I want to share with you today breaks out actually kind of how their fees are set up. Today's Woman, $350 a month. It can go up, and also you can combine that with a digital ad on the websites. Today's Family, $260 per quarter. So again, you're right in about $1,000 for the year. Not a bad investment to kind of see where this goes. And then likewise with Today's Transition, almost the same price, $270 per quarter, and again with an online option. Now remember, the elderly person may not actually be using the internet, but the caregiver most definitely and assuredly is. So again, it's just a neat opportunity to kind of use this kind of channel, this kind of publication, to get in front of that person when they're most concerned about it. Now in just a second, I'm going to give you Susie's contact information, and you'll have her cell phone, her office phone, and her email. Feel free to reach out to her. She's very, very good with customer service. She's very, very responsive, and I hope you'll enjoy working with her. Now, back to kind of what's going on here. If you look over my shoulder, again, this is kind of a different background. I'm actually building a video studio here in my basement. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm fully committed to the idea of video marketing, both now and definitely its role in the future. So I think as I've coached you guys from time to time about doing in-house video, doing videos right there in your office, video blogging, literally, I am now doing in-house video. So I'm building out the studio as we talk, and so you'll see more and more things evolve over the next few months here. And I look forward to talking to you about some of the opportunities that may arise for us, possibly even to do some on-site interviews, just as a way to complement what you're already doing marketing-wise. But again, something we can add to your YouTube channel, something we can add to a Facebook ad, your Facebook page, all sorts of different ways to kind of use it. But as far as me, I'm absolutely a major proponent of video marketing, and I'm jumping in all in, and look forward to talking to you about it more as this studio evolves and develops. So thanks again. Well, that about does it now for this week's edition. I appreciate the time you've given me, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you directly. If you have any questions, you can reach me at 502-208-9639. So give me a call. Let's set up a meeting and kind of talk about where we are as we close out the existing year and as we get ready for the new year. Make sure we have a good plan in place and make sure things are heading the way they need to be for you. If not, it's a good time to adjust, and we can do that on the fly. The good news is we've got a lot of options and a lot of opportunities. So I want to wish you the best. I look forward to talking to you again right here next week on Insider Tips. Take care. Bye-bye.